The first big update of College Football 27 is dropping early tomorrow, but EA put out all of the news today so we can go over everything that's changing, everything that they're adding, and more. This is a massive update, the first true big one of the year, so it's delivering a lot of tuning to things that were off balance, a lot of fixes for the bugs that were there, and it's adding a ton of content. We've got stuff for gameplay, Dynasty, Road to Glory, pretty much the whole game. And we're going to kick it off with gameplay, and they're addressing the pancake block frequency, which was a bit of a problem. If you're someone that ran the ball, you might not like that they're fixing this, but it did need to be adjusted a little bit, in my opinion. They slightly lowered the frequency of pancake blocks occurring during gameplay. They made coaching adjustment changes designed to better address situations where pancake blocks were triggering more than intended, and they tuned aggressive blocking and defender aggression interactions to help improve the balance of the pancake block outcomes. And really, one of the biggest issues with this was also that aggressive blocking, because in the coaching adjustments, you can set your blocking to aggressive, which does definitely give you much better blocking and more pancakes, but the consequence of that is that you're supposed to get holding calls a little bit more frequently. That's the risk reward, but that just really wasn't happening, so glad to see that they addressed that. Now, they also made some blocking improvements across the board. They improved blocking logic for targeting and assignment execution. They improved receiver versus defensive back block outcomes so dominant wins occur at a more balanced rate and feel more situational. They improved the backfield blocker behavior on chip and release assignments. They fixed an issue where chip and release blockers could take poor initial angles. Improved pass blocker depth on quick pass protection. Fixed an issue where certain tackle over adjustments could create unrealistic interior rush lanes. And improved play action pass protection so blockers drop back to a more appropriate depth. Next up, we've got some pass rush and defensive front improvements. They improved the stunt logic and functionality. They fixed multiple issues where pirate stunts could cause pass protection to leave rushers untargeted. They improved defensive tackle loop behavior on stunts to reduce collision and spacing issues. They improved the defender's ability to shed blocks in the proper run fit direction. And they also improved run block double team shed triggers for defenders. And really the thing I'm curious about with that is, will this affect the different stunts in the run game, like the Texas 4-man or the El Paso 4-man, which were good run stopping fits? I don't think it will, but it's something to check out. Here's another big one, defensive catch moments. It said they improved defender behavior on jump balls and interception attempts to allow for higher catch points. Improved catch tackle animations and knockout chances in contested scenarios. Fixed an issue where the catch holes could occur on accurately thrown high point bullet passes. Now, I do think this one will maybe help with some of the interceptions. I saw a lot of people were getting perfectly timed interceptions on the meter, but they just couldn't really get the proper animation to attack the ball, and the offense would still win it most of the time. So I think allowing them to go for higher catch points is probably going to address that. Now, we also have coverage and defensive logic changes. I'll pop them up on the screen if you want to read them. This is kind of a mouthful, but basically what a lot of these different bullet points are just different things they did to fix cover 3 match. Cover 3 match was having problems with certain things, so it looks like they kind of addressed most of that here if you're a cover 3 match type of guy. We also have some coaching adjustment changes. They fixed an issue where the untarget defender was not working correctly when showing blitz. The untarget user defender coaching adjustment will no longer work on run plays, which is actually really good because you don't want to untarget the user on a run play, only on pass plays. They also fixed an issue where users had no way to scroll by subsection when creating a custom adjustment, and they fixed an issue where CPU zone strategy changes could be revealed to the offense after an audible. I actually did not know about that, but that's crazy. And here's some other general gameplay fixes I'm popping up on the screen. Most of these are kind of just some little random things that you probably haven't even seen, but a few notable ones. They fixed formation shift issues where personnel could be manipulated to get 4 or 5 receivers into heavy sets. Fixed an issue where the first team in the third overtime series could be placed at the 33-yard line instead of the 3-yard line, which is pretty crazy. But the biggest one here, they fixed an issue in online player friend which caused unintended stiff arm behavior. So if you're more of like a pro level player, competitive player, or you just like playing head to head versus friends, there was a stiff arm glitch in there where you could just maul people with stiff arms over and over and over. They were highly over effective, and this was a very big issue for people that used the player friend, but that's going to be addressed. Now, they also added some new playbook content, and this first one is really big. They added new cover 4 zone, cover 6 zone, and cover 9 zone plays to select defensive playbooks. Now, why this is important is because most of the cover 4, cover 6, and cover 9 plays in the game right now are actually match coverages. So they look like zone visually, but they're going to match and play man depending on the formation and the routes. But a lot of times people pick these plays and they think that they're just zone coverages, but they're not. These versions right here will be straight spot drop zone, so they'll have those different variations now in some playbooks, and I think that's a pretty big add. They also added 12 new press quarters plays to the press quarters playbook, added 3 new blitzes to the 3-3-5 odd ghost playbook to give the formation additional support for pressure, and they added 4-3 under wide to the 4-2-5 zone pressure playbook, giving the playbook at least one base defense option. And not only have they made all those gameplay changes, but they also let us know what is on the radar for future updates, and there's some really big ones in here. Speed boosting, instances of slot DBs not flipping when they should, man coverage effectiveness, hurry up sometimes resetting custom adjustments, users coverage shells not always being respected, and user hot routes not registering when specific coverage checks are active. Now, these are really big ones, especially speed boosting. This has been a big thing for a couple years now. Not sure why it's still in the game. It's really most effective with like human joystick ability running backs and players, but this is something they got to get out of the game. A lot of people don't know how to do it. Really only the top of the top can even consistently pull this off, so it's probably not something you're dealing with too much, but regardless, it shouldn't be in the game, and it makes the game a lot better by removing it. So I'm glad that's on their radar. Man coverage effectiveness is kind of funny because every time defense is good, it eventually gets nerfed. That's just how it is because people complain. Now, yes, man coverage is pretty overpowered right now. There are some ways to beat it, but it's probably the best it's ever been. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be balanced a little bit better, but I'm sure some people aren't going to be happy to hear that. Hey, if you're still here at this point of the video and you're getting value out of this, I would just ask that you subscribe. That way you're always up to date with the latest news for College Football 27. It really helps support the channel a ton, and you can always unsub at any time. Moving on to Dynasty mode, it says, before we get started with updates that we have for you in this title update, we wanted to give you a sneak peek at an update we have coming to you later this month. Prior to week 0 of the college football season, we will have a massive roster update that will drop so that you can start a new dynasty with the latest and greatest athletes. So probably most of the freshmen that haven't been added yet. Sometimes it just takes them a minute to get all the freshmen in. I mean, there's so many players they got to have in this game, and some of them they don't get, their deals finalized till later in the cycle. But I mean, it is kind of annoying. You want to start your dynasties, you want all the players, so we will have all those in around week 0, which is coming really soon. But in terms of what's coming in this dynasty update, they've done some dynasty blueprint changes. As you can see here, I'm popping them up on the screen, and there's some really important ones here. They added a new week summary screen at the end of season recap showing your new budget and any changes year over year. They added NIL to the reason for leaving column within players leaving. They fixed an issue where CPU teams were purchasing equipment other than what is preset at the league creation during the first year. They fixed an issue where increased facility longevity equipment was not properly increasing the lifespan of the 4-week equipment. And when offering NIL to a recruit and offering dynasty points to a coordinator, you can now press the right stick to the right to offer maximum amount and right stick to the left to offer the minimum amount. And they also did some AD expectation changes, which I'm also popping up on the screen here. I don't know if any of these were anything too crazy. Sounds like they just added some new animations and new goals. They did fix an issue where goals to upgrade your facility level were not being evaluated at the correct time. They also updated Central Michigan rivalry goal to be Western Michigan. They also made some coaching carousel changes here. They rebalanced coach firing logic to prevent the first-year head coaches from being fired and making it more difficult for high-prestige coaches to be fired from a lower-prestige school. They adjusted coach retirement logic to increase target retirement age, fixed an issue where you could not withdraw or edit offers when you had made 6 offers, fixed an issue where you could not make offers to coordinators when you were previously a coordinator and you just accepted a head coaching job. They also added new columns to the coordinator hiring screen: archetype, prestige, pipeline, and level. They also were adding some new coaches into the game as well, which is nice. They're adding Coastal Carolina's offensive and defensive coordinators. They're adding North Texas's head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator, and also Southern Miss's head coach and defensive coordinator. This specific one right here says a new dynasty is required to have the coaches included in your game. So if you're worried about these specific coaches getting included, you would have to restart your dynasty, but all the other changes looks like they will be active in your already ongoing dynasties. They also made a bunch of general fixes for Dynasty as well. They updated pro potential grade to factor in current roster composition and projected draft rounds of current players as a secondary input. Players with pro potential deal breaker now have a higher chance of going pro. Defaulted gameplay injury slider to 10 to reduce the number of injuries. And it says if you have any existing dynasties and your injury sliders on 25, they recommend going down to 10. They added the Shamrock Series game featuring Wisconsin and Notre Dame at Lambeau Field in week 1 of Dynasty or Road to Glory. This will require a new dynasty as well, this specific edition. But if you don't care about it, then not a big deal. They fixed an issue with Hawaii's proximity to home grade being an F for players from Hawaii. It's been a thing every year. I don't know why they got to keep fixing it. They updated player progression to rebalance costs across key ratings. Updated generators to increase the quality of recruits at higher tiers. That's definitely good. They fixed an issue where the SEC conference schedule would be incorrect after the first season. Addressed an issue where last season's conference champions were not properly reflected in the historical stats. Fixed fixed an issue where prospects who did not have you in their top 10 would appear with an interest level of 10th on the recruiting board, and a bunch of other little issues that you can read up here on the screen. But I mean, this video is going to drag on and on if I talk about every last issue that they fixed, but a lot of little quality of life things that were hindering the game are now addressed. They're also addressing some team builder stuff here. It says, we're aware of an issue impacting some players' ability to update team builder teams between dynasty seasons, which is massive because that was a big selling point for the game for a lot of people, and that has not worked. It also says that they've identified unsupported team builder assets and teams exceeding the supported uniform limit as factors that can prevent created teams from updating correctly and affect players who download them. Team builder is designed around specific asset and uniform limits to support reliable performance across the web experience and in-game. Teams that exceeded those limits can require additional memory and processing, which may contribute to slower performance, failed updates, and stability issues for creators and players who download them. So they're currently testing a fix to improve team builder and dynasty stability. Once released, unsupported fonts and textures may be removed from effective teams, and up to 5 uniform combinations will be available in-game. Moving on to Road to Glory, draft projection and legacy score. There's a new legacy score and draft projection screen. They fixed an issue where draft projection could drop unexpectedly after transferring, updated the projected legacy score line to better reflect projections, fixed an issue where your legacy score could reset to 0 after your first game played if you were a bench player, and they added a new season action item to take you to the draft projection and legacy screen during the end of season recap. So I know there was definitely some problems with that, especially your draft projection going down even after having good games, so I'm guessing that stuff will be addressed. They also addressed some transfer portal issues, especially the main one where the user would be unable to transfer their senior season. That was massive. They fixed an issue in the transfer portal where you could already be committed to a team you verbally committed to coming out of high school. Fixed an issue where scholarship bonuses would not be applied if you stayed on your current team after the first season. And they added new recruiting scenarios with coaches when you enter the transfer portal. They also made some other general fixes here, which I'm popping up on the screen. One of the bigger ones here is they updated cap breaker progression by removing certain single game achievement triggers that were awarding cap breakers more frequently than intended. Cap breakers will continue to be earned through season and career milestones, awards, and sustained performance. This update is in response to a small segment of players exploiting single game achievements. I'm sure that's going to go over well with people, but let's see. Now there's a bunch of other stuff that was added, sights and sounds, new crowd themes, mascots, traditions, and more that we're going to get into, but there was also kind of a big addition here for Ultimate Team. Now if you're not an Ultimate Team player, I know a lot of people that view my videos aren't, you can just skip ahead, but for those that do play Ultimate Team, they did add something pretty big here with the addition of Evos. This is something that was a new addition coming to Madden, which is about to drop, but they've also now put it into college football as well. The Evo progression system lets you upgrade players you choose over time. Every player gets a free program pillar Evo that can be applied to any core player with objectives that increase their overall throughout the year. EA will also release limited time Evos that can boost ratings, unlock abilities, change archetypes, and even add new chemistry options, giving players much more control over building their roster. Moving on to the sights and sounds. Now with a lot of the stuff I'm going to go over here, I'm going to make a separate video tomorrow showing off a lot of this new stuff in game, but I still want to let you know what's coming. They've added Lambeau Field, which we already kind of talked about earlier as part of Dynasty and Road to Glory. They're adding a bunch of new crowd themes, which I'm popping up here on the screen. Now they already added a bunch of new ones when the game launched, and they also gave us the ability to select them for each game. So now the fact that they're adding even more just gives us more customization options, and there's some cool ones in here like the Clemson helmet stripe, the black and gold stripe out for Colorado, the Mississippi State blackout. We've got dark mode for Tennessee. We've got the coal rush for West Virginia, the turquoise out for Florida State, the gold out for Vanderbilt, and much more. We also got some new mascots coming. I mean, at this point, almost every mascot is in the game, so there can't be many that are missing at this point, but we're getting the Jacksonville State mascot, the Kent State mascot, the Georgia Southern mascot, Sam Houston State's mascot, and Troy's. And they'll also be available for mascot mashup as well. On top of that, we've got some new traditions being added. Hawaii's turnover celebration, LSU's basketball dunk celebration, Troy's turnover helmet, and Vanderbilt's cowboy hat added to the guitar celebration. We also got some new uniforms coming. The black Gothic alternate for Northwestern, the new Kelly Green alternate for Notre Dame, the new Shamrock series for Notre Dame, the new dark mode for Tennessee, and the new Shamrock series for Wisconsin. They're also adding some new uniform pieces for some other schools like Air Force's Fade alternate helmet, Iowa State's Punching Psy helmet, Virginia's Script helmet, and also under this there's a dev note that says we're continuing to add practice uniforms throughout the year. Schools part of the Big 12 will receive their practice uniforms in this update, and the ACC schools' practice uniforms are currently planned for a future title update. They're also adding a bunch of new rivalry trophies, and I love seeing these in-game when teams are celebrating with them, because these are some of the most unique trophies you'll ever see. College football just, they do everything over the top, and I love it. So you can see up here on the screen, we've got a bunch of new trophies coming, like the Red Bird Trophy, the Textile Bowl Trophy, the Continental Cup, the Oil Can for Fresno State and San Diego State, the Bell for Southern Miss and Tulane, and much more. They're also adding some more audio and commentary. There's crowd reactions and home field advantage improvements. The crowd chant volume will be increased, which I think is good. It seemed a little low at times. There's also new commentary additions from Holly Rowe, Joel Klatt, Reese Davis, David Pollock, and Jesse Palmer. And there's 2,500 new lines, including new rivalry content and player and coach callouts, which is good because we know the commentary, commentary's lacking in some areas. I think Holly Rowe and Joel Klatt actually do a pretty good job, but we can always use more. Again, make sure you subscribe because tomorrow I'm going to drop all of the in-game stuff and let you take a good look at it. And if you want to know all of the coolest things that you can actually do in College Football 27, you got to check out this video right here on the screen.